Mr. Clark.
Good afternoon, Your Honor. David Weisbrod on behalf of Mr. Clark, and I see him present also through the jail screen.
Yes, very good. So I've reviewed the plea forms and terms. Is there anything we need to take up before we proceed with Mr. Clark's plea?
I don't believe so.
I don't believe so, Your Honor.
All right, Mr. Clark, would you raise your right hand, please? Do you swear and affirm that all the testimony you give in this case will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Okay. Do you read? You don't have to keep your hand up. Mr. Clark, please state your full legal name.
Graham Ivan Clark.
Mr. Clark, do you read, write, and understand English?
Yes.
Is there any medical or psychological reason why you cannot understand what we're doing here today?
No.
Are you currently under the influence of any drugs or alcohol?
No.
You are charged by information with count 1, organized fraud pursuant to Florida Statute 817.034 subsection 4A, which carries a maximum penalty of 30 years in Florida State Prison. Counts 2 through 18, communications fraud greater than $300 pursuant to Florida Statute 817.034 B1, each count which carries a maximum penalty of 5 years in Florida State Prison. Count 19, fraudulent use of personal information more than $100 or $100,000 or 30 victims pursuant to Florida Statute 817.568 subsection 2C, which carries a maximum penalty of 30 years in Florida State Prison and a mandatory minimum sentence of 10 years in Florida State Prison. Counts 20 through 29, fraudulent use of personal information pursuant to Florida Statute 817.562 subsection 2A, each charge which carries a maximum penalty of 5 years in Florida State Prison. And count 30, accessing a computer without authority with damages greater than $5,000 pursuant to Florida Statute 815.062 subsection 2A and 3B1, which carries a maximum penalty of 15 years in Florida State Prison. Do you understand those charges?
Yes.
Okay, I have before me a plea form that indicates that you wish to enter a plea of guilty to the charges I just read to you because it is in your best interest to do so. Is that correct?
Yes.
Did you go over the plea form in its entirety with your attorney?
Yes.
Do you have any questions about the plea form?
No.
Have you discussed the plea with your parents?
Yes.
Do they approve of the plea?
Yes.
What are their names?
Emilia Clark.
What is that, sir?
Emilia Clark.
Okay, very good. And you understand that you're pleading pursuant to a plea agreement reached between you and your attorney and the state of Florida?
Yes.
You also understand that the state has agreed to sentence you as a youthful offender, correct?
Yes.
And based on all the options you have been presented, is it your choice to plead to these charges?
Yes.
Okay, and Mr. Weisbrod, have you waived Mr. Clark's physical presence in court today?
Yes, Your Honor, we would waive physical presence in court.
Okay, and Mr. Clark, you're okay entering your plea by video, correct?
Yes.
Okay, have you been satisfied with the services of Mr. Weisbrod?
Yes.
Is there anything else you would like him to do, such as talk to additional witnesses or file any additional motions?
No.
Did you go over all of the rights you're giving up by pleading guilty to these charges?
Yes.
You understand that you are giving up the right to a jury trial, correct?
Yes.
Do you also understand that you're giving up the right to testify on your behalf?
Yes.
Do you understand that you're giving up the right to confront witnesses?
Yes.
Do you also understand that you're giving up the right to appeal your guilt or innocence?
Yes.
And you understand if you are not a U.S. citizen, you may be deported as a result of the plea?
Yes.
Has anyone threatened or coerced you into entering these pleas?
No.
Has anyone made any promises to you about time you will serve as a result of these pleas?
No.
Has anyone promised you that you would be able to get into basic training or boot camp as a youthful offender as a result of this plea?
No.
Do you understand we can't promise you that you will serve a certain term or you'll get into that basic training camp? You understand that?
Yes.
Okay. Has anyone promised you that you would be able to early terminate your probation?
No.
And again, Mr. Clark, you understand no one can make those promises to you.
Yes.
How do you plead to the charges of count 1, organized fraud, count 2 through 18, communications fraud, count 19, fraudulent use of personal information, counts 20 through 29, fraudulent use of personal information, and count 30, accessing a computer without authority?
Yes.
How do you plead to those charges?
Guilty.
Has the state approved the plea?
Yes, Your Honor.
And has the defense approved the plea?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. Ms. Carmona, do you have a question?
No, ma'am.
Okay. You have your hand raised.
It wasn't intended.
Okay. You understand by this plea, you're sentenced to 3 years of probation in addition to 3 years Florida State Prison as a youthful offender, correct?
Yes.
Have you gone over the terms of probation with your attorney, Mr. Weisbrod, and you're prepared to complete all of them?
Yes.
Do you understand that if you commit another crime while out on probation, you will be arrested and held without a bond?
Yes.
State, may I get a factual basis?
Yes, Your Honor. The factual basis for each of these counts of this information relate to the criminal fraudulent takeover of many Twitter accounts and then using this fraudulent takeover to convince their victims to send cryptocurrency to cryptocurrency accounts under the control of the perpetrators. So the facts would show that Twitter Incorporated operates a social networking and microblogging service. Many high-profile individuals and companies use this service by using verified accounts. That is, these high-profile individuals and companies have proven to Twitter that the accounts under their name of these high-profile individuals and companies are truly under their control, which then provides confidence to other Twitter users that communications or tweets from these accounts are legitimate and they originate from these high-profile individuals and companies. The facts would further show that on July 15th, 2020, the Twitter accounts of several high-profile individuals were taken over without the permission of any of those high-profile individuals or companies. At the same time, Twitter cryptocurrency accounts and the accounts of other internationally known companies were also taken over without any permission. The criminal unauthorized takeovers of these Twitter accounts resulted in a series of unauthorized tweets, allegedly from these high-profile individuals. These tweets invited Twitter followers to join in a fake humanitarian fundraising campaign by sending cryptocurrency to cryptocurrency accounts now under the control of those responsible for the criminal takeover of these Twitter accounts. This fake fundraising campaign, using the names and reputations of these high-profile individuals and companies, promised those who contributed cryptocurrency would receive a return on their investment. But with many of these solicitations requiring that the cryptocurrency be delivered within 30 minutes to an hour after posting. The facts will further show that this scam resulted in hundreds of cryptocurrency transfers and transactions with over $117,000 worth of cryptocurrency being transferred from these victims to the cryptocurrency accounts now under control of the scammers. No Bitcoin currency was returned as promised to these victims. Federal and state investigators immediately conducted an investigation which revealed that this fraudulent electronic scheme was committed on the devices controlled by and committed by the defendant and his criminal associates. So the way that we've organized the information is count 1 through 18 relates to the crimes related to this scheme to defraud. Counts 19 through 29 are crimes related to the unauthorized use of the personal information of those Twitter accounts, which were hacked or taken over, as I mentioned. And count 30 relates to the takeover of Twitter's systems, administrative tools, and accounts, which were used in this fraudulent scheme. So, as indicated by the court, count 1 relates to this overall scheme to defraud with the aggregate taking of $50,000, as indicated by the facts. Count 19 alleges the unauthorized use of personal information resulting in the fraudulent taking of more than $100,000, as the court indicated, which carries a mandatory minimum sentence, which would have been imposed if the defendant were sentenced as an adult. As the court indicated, the state and the defendant have agreed that the defendant will be sentenced as a youthful offender, but the defendant needs to understand that if he violates the terms and conditions of his probation and is sentenced as an adult for a substantive violation, that 10-year mandatory minimum sentence must be imposed. Count 30 is the unauthorized use or takeover of the Twitter administrative tools for the purposes of this scheme to defraud, resulting in the damages of over $5,000. So the way the information is broken down is that, as the court indicated, counts 2 through counts 18 relate to the scheme to defraud, where in count 2, they use the account of former President Barack Obama. Count 3 was the account of President Joseph Biden. Count 4 was the account of Elon Musk. Count 5 was the account of Kanye West. Count 6 was the account of Bill Gates. Count 7 was the account of Jeff Bezos. Count 8 was the account of Mike Bloomberg. Count 9 was Warren Buffett. Count 10 was Floyd Mayweather. Count 11 was Kim Kardashian. And count 12 was Bitcoin. Count 13 was Apple Incorporated. Count 14 was Uber. Count 15 was Qcoin. Count 16 was Coinbase. Count 17 was Gemini. Count 18 was Binance. Furthermore, then counts 20 through 29 relate to the unauthorized takeover of the personal identification of 10 of those individuals, including in count 20, former President Barack Obama, count 21, President Joseph Biden, count 22, the personal identification of Elon Musk, count 23, Kanye West, count 24, the personal identification of Bill Gates, count 25, Jeff Bezos, count 26, Mike Bloomberg, count 27, Warren Buffett, count 28, Floyd Mayweather, and count 29, Kim Kardashian. Those are the facts and circumstances relating to the factual basis for this information, Your Honor.
Mr. Weisbrod, any amendments needed to that factual basis?
No, Your Honor.
Okay, Mr. Clark, do you understand that those are the facts you're pleading guilty to?
Yes.
Right, and again, no one forced you or coerced you into entering this plea, correct, sir?
Yes.
No one forced you or coerced you, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Based on Your testimony, my review of the plea forms, as well as the court file and the state and defense's approval of the plea. I accept your plea. I find it is knowing and voluntary. You will be sentenced pursuant to Florida Statute 958.04 and 958.045 as a youthful offender as follows. Counts 1 through 18, you'll be sentenced to a term of incarceration as a youthful offender of 3 years as to each count to run concurrently with each other, and if you qualify to the basic training boot camp provision of the youthful offender law. Your incarceration shall run consecutive to the term of probation imposed as to counts 19 through 30. You will receive credit for jail time since your arrest on July 31st, 2020, toward the incarceration portion of the sentence imposed. As to counts 19 through 30, I sentence you to a term of 3 years probation on each count to run concurrent with each other, but consecutive to the term of incarceration on counts 1 through 18. You understand if you are found to have substantively violated your probation, you will be subject to the mandatory minimum term of incarceration of 10 years, correct?
Yes.
Okay, and that's just the minimum, but your sentence could be much more if you violate the terms. You understand that, correct?
Yes.
All right, Mr. Clark, and you agree to have no direct or indirect access to electronic devices without permission of those supervising your probation and with proper notice to the Florida Department of Law Enforcement, where you will specifically identify all electronic devices and their passwords or other means to access the use of these electronic devices. Do you understand that?
Yes.
Do you also agree to provide unlimited access to each and all electronic devices to those supervising your probation and also provide unlimited access of your electronic devices to the Florida Department of Law Enforcement?
Yes.
And you also agree under probation or other supervision to unannounced and unlimited searches of your person, residence, workplace, vehicles, or possessions by those supervising your probation or by law enforcement officers, including the Florida Department of Law Enforcement, correct?
Yes.
You agree to provide those supervising your probation and also the Florida Department of Law Enforcement a list of any and all electronic mail addresses, interactive computer services, internet domain names, commercial social networking websites, online or remote storage and computing devices, internet identifiers, and each internet identifier's corresponding website homepage or application software name, home telephone numbers and cellular telephone numbers in your care, custody, or control, correct?
Yes.
And any change that occurs after providing the initial list to those supervising your probation and also the Florida Department of Law Enforcement, you must provide within 48 hours, whether it is permanent or temporary. Do you understand that?
Yes.
I'll give you a few definitions. Electronic mail address means a destination commonly expressed as a string of characters to which electronic mail may be sent or delivered. This is including but not limited to chat, direct messaging, private messaging, voice, and or video communication applications. Do you understand that?
Yes.
Interactive computer service means any information, service, system, or access software provider that provides or enables computer access by multiple users to a computer server, including specifically, but not limited to, a service or system that provides access to the internet and the systems operated or services offered by libraries or educational institutions. Do you understand that?
Yes.
Internet domain name means a globally unique hierarchical reference to an internet host or service, which is assigned through centralized internet naming authorities and which is comprised of a series of character strings separated by periods with the rightmost string specifying the top of the hierarchy. Do you understand that?
Yes.
Internet identifier means any designation, moniker, screen name, username, or other name used for self-identification to send or receive social internet communication. Do you understand that?
Yes.
Commercial social networking website means a commercially operated internet website that allows users to create web pages or profiles that provide information about themselves and are available publicly or to other users, and that offers a mechanism for communication with other users, such as a forum, chat room, electronic mail, or instant messenger. Do you understand that?
Yes.
Online or remote storage and computing devices means storage of electronic data and computing services that does not reside at Mr. Clark's physical location or is on devices owned in part or whole by another person, company, or entity, whereas you are able to access such data from any device connected to the internet. Do you understand that?
Yes.
You also must agree to provide to those supervising your probation and also the Florida Department of Law Enforcement any technological access barrier, which means a password, security code, token, key fob, access device, or similar measure to any and all electronic mail addresses, interactive computer services, and internet domain names, commercial social networking websites, online or remote storage and computing devices, internet identifiers upon their request. You understand?
Yes.
You also must agree to utilize true identity in the use of any and all electronic mail addresses, interactive computer services, internet domain names, commercial social networking websites, online or remote storage and computing devices, and internet identifiers. You understand that?
Yes.
And you are not to use any virtual private network, proxy, or other technology that conceal your identity, internet protocol address, or location where you are accessing any and all email addresses, interactive computer systems, internet domain names, commercial social networking websites, online or remote storage and computing devices, and internet identifiers. Do you understand that?
Yes.
You also must agree to provide to those supervising your probation and also the Florida Department of Law Enforcement provenance of financial assets, virtual currency, and or real currency in your possession, care, custody, or control upon request. You understand that?
Yes.
And virtual currency, it refers to a medium of exchange that can operate like currency, but does not have all the attributes of real currency as defined in 31 CFR section 1010.100 subsection M, including legal tender status. Do you understand that definition?
Yes.
In addition to those terms, I will impose mandatory court costs as a lien. You will have 30 days to appeal the legality of your sentence. Mr. Weisbrod, anything else?
No, other than, Your Honor, I think we should put on the record that his credit for time served that he's receiving is 229 days as of today.
Mr. Dirks, do you agree?
I agree, Your Honor. Thank you.
Okay, so you will receive credit for 229 days served. Mr. Clark, do you have any questions for the court?
No.
All right. Anything else, Mr. Weisbrod or Mr. Dirks?
I don't think so.
Yes, Your Honor.
Thank you.
Yes, Your Honor. Since the defendant was sentenced to Florida State Prison, in case I missed it, the defendant must be adjudicated of these 30 counts.
I believe I adjudicated him guilty of counts 1 through 30.
Thank you, Your Honor. And also for purposes of restitution, I believe the defendant has confirmed along with counsel that he has turned over all of the cryptocurrency that he had in his possession at the time of his arrest. And we would ask the defendant and counsel to reaffirm that for purposes of restitution.
Okay, Mr. Clark, have you indeed turned over all the cryptocurrency referred to by Mr. Dirks?
Yes.
Okay, Mr. Weisbrod, can you confirm that?
Yes, Your Honor. I was present during the actual physical transfer and facilitated it.
Okay, and Mr. Clark, I see that you had your fingerprints taken on March 15th, 2021. Is that correct?
Yes.
All right. Anything else at this time, Mr. Dirks?
No, Your Honor. Thank you very much.
Mr. Weisbrod?
No, Your Honor, except I would, just one thing logistically, because of the youthful offender sentencing with the boot camp, I believe that the way things will work is the court will be notified down the line if he qualifies, and I think the state attorney likewise will be notified, and there'll be a need to sign off on his entry into the basic training program. I don't think we need a hearing for those purposes, do we?
Is that correct, Mr. Dirks?
I do not believe we need a hearing for those purposes. No, Your Honor.
You can submit.
There is one other matter that I want to make sure it is clear, and Ms. Carmona brought this to my attention. I think that the plea form may have recited that the terms of incarceration shall be consecutive to the terms of probation. I just wanted to make it clear, although I think we all know that the defendant's incarceration must be served first before the probation. I just want that record to be clear. Thank you.
The record will be clear on that. Okay, anything else, Mr. Dirks or Mr. Weisbrod?
Nothing else. Thank you.
Mr. Clark, at this time, any questions? Mr. Clark, no questions?
Questions.
Okay, I wish you the best of luck, and that concludes the case 20 CF 8794. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor.